That is Mongabay reporter Gerry Flynn, and the visuals you just saw, those were filmed in the forest of Preah Roka in Cambodia. Gerry was accompanying community members who were trying to fight illegal deforestation. To do such patrol in Preah Roka is dangerous. To do one 12 kilometers south, where we're locating this episode, is almost impossible. Prey Lang Wildlife Sanctuary, a rainforest that should be protected, is being devastated without witness. Across the region, the environmental activists that have tried to stop it are facing threats and are being persecuted.
One of Asia's leading environmental activists was gunned down in Cambodia.
A Cambodian court has sentenced 5 members of the environmental group Mother Nature to prison terms of up to 20 months.
Community organizations, activists, and academics told Mongabay that the government is complicit and corruption is rampant. And some are now saying that Prey Lang is nothing more than a protected sanctuary on paper. In this episode, we take a closer look at Prey Lang Wildlife Sanctuary in Cambodia and sit down to talk to one of the main logging companies and the leading group trying to protect these forests. I am Romi Castagnino, and this is Chasing Deforestation. Our forest. That's what Prey Lang means in the Khoi language. This forest is intrinsically tied to the lives, livelihoods, and culture of the indigenous Khoi people. Spread over almost 432,000 hectares across 4 provinces in Cambodia, it is also home to many threatened species of animals, including the Asian elephant and the Malayan sun bear, and 80% of the most endangered native tree species in the country. But that's not stopping widespread deforestation here. Cambodia has one of the largest rates of forest loss in the world, and Prey Lang is no different. In 2016, the government designated Prey Lang as a wildlife sanctuary, intended to give it a protected area status. But ironically, that very year, it lost almost 7,410 hectares of forest cover, mostly because of illegal logging. Since then, it has only gotten worse. By far, 2021 has been the worst year on record. That year, more than 8,000 hectares of forest were lost. According to the latest data, an additional 6,280 hectares of forest were cleared in 2022. So what's happening in Prey Lang? To get more context, I got on a call with Gerry Flynn. Gerry, who you saw earlier, is a Mongabay reporter. He started investigating deforestation in Prey Lang back in 2020, and since then, he has documented the steady decline of forest cover there.
We've seen a lot of change in that time. Unfortunately, none of it good. It's been a pretty destructive few years for Prey Lang and for the communities that rely on it.
During our conversation, I realized that it's not just one thing that's driving deforestation in Prey Lang. Mining for limestone, which is approved by the government, is one factor. More recently, the government also approved a 500 kilovolts power transmission line that will cut right through the middle of the sanctuary. The power line, when it is completed, will dissect the forest and open up vast areas of untouched forest to illegal logging. But the main culprit, it's something else. What is the main driver of deforestation in Prey Lang?
In Prey Lang in particular, what we've seen in more recent years is one company in particular, think Biotech, is effectively leading the way in logging Prey Lang. So think Biotech, they began in 2011 as a South Korean-led reforestation project, ironically. However, as the irregularities began to pile up in terms of timber being allegedly laundered through the reforestation process. Wild timber was being taken from Prey Lang, laundered through the reforestation project and sold as sustainable timber, which it wasn't, to the point where in 2018 the South Korean investors said enough. They pulled out, and a Taiwanese national, Liu Chu-chang, he took over in December 2018.
Because they have a concession inside the forest, right? That the government gave the company.
Yeah, so think Biotech, they have a 34,000 hectare concession right on the eastern border of Prey Lang. And so again, they were given this initially as a reforestation project, but what we've seen is In the time that Lu Chu-Chang took over Think Biotech, we have seen thousands of complaints from communities who say that the company has pressured them into selling their resin trees from inside Preah Lang Wildlife Sanctuary. Keep in mind, these resin trees are often massive old-growth trees that have been tended to sustainably for generations by indigenous communities. So it's definitely very alarming that this is happening now. We have also heard a lot of encounters where the company has been paying communities to go into the forest, into Preah Lang, cut down timber illegally, transport it back into Think Biotech's concession, where the company then pays the communities to do it. And then that timber again is then sold as sustainably harvested timber.
Recently, Gerry used satellite images to find a new road. This road connects the Think Biotech's concession to protected areas inside Preah Lang, showing that the company is possibly sourcing more timber through illegal means. To get more clarity on the purposes of Think Biotech, Gerry sat down with the company's CEO, Lu Chu-Chang. In the interview that you are about to see, Chang denied the allegations against his company despite evidence. He also threw some hints to suggest who might be responsible for destroying Preah Lang.
So, do you think it's a coincidence that Think Biotech has been accused of illegal logging, and at the time that you took over from Think Biotech, the rate of deforestation in Preah Lang increased dramatically?
Actually, Preah Lang, I know, have a big trouble. But this problem not from me.
So earlier this year, between April and May this year, we've seen a road that was built from inside Think Biotech's concession. The road then crosses the border of Preah Lang and actually travels about 12 kilometers into the forest. Here,
Okay, I know this problem. I know this problem. But this one, government involved this work and to check clearly. So all the process come to the government to take over all the problem.
So
They do investigate.
So
now,
was this road inside Preah Lang built by your company?
My company get a lot of timber right, but that is from my plantation area.
So how do you explain this road? Because if we look at the end of this road, you can see here very clearly that a lot of the tree cover has disappeared. Is this road being used by Think Biotech to take trees from Preah Lang back into your concession?
From my concession or not, I don't know. But I tell you, I never get this timber. Somebody I know, get this timber, but this is not our team.
Phụ dương chia cà phê thì đấy nhưng ta xót qua để mình bỏ. Phụ bóng vừa lụa kia đá là. Dương ban luôn này là rô ban là hết bông rồi. Dương ban cái nô thay. Cùng về cho máu đấy.
Who is getting the timber?
This one, I'm difficult to talk. Government now to check this problem. They have data. Government have data. If this problem, I suggest you to check from the Ministry of Agriculture or Ministry of Environment or some police, economic police.
Why would the government know, but you wouldn't if it's coming from your concession? Surely you know who is coming in and out of your concession.
Please no. I cannot talk too much. Government do investigation, they know well. They know well.
Well, we reached out to the Cambodian Environment Ministry and they responded. It's impossible to conclude who is behind the alleged road construction because it's still under investigation, but deny the government's involvement in approving the road. When asked about why Think Biotech is allowed to continue operations despite having evidence they are heavily profiting from illegal logging, they responded with a statement unrelated to our question. They didn't have a clear answer either when asked about why the government allows development projects such as mine and power lines inside a protected area. Some of our questions, they simply didn't reply.
I think one of the important things we do need to talk about is that, the level of corruption that is also driving deforestation in Preah Lang. What the data shows is that prior to every election for effectively the last 10 years, you see a spike in deforestation just ahead of the elections, typically followed by, in the run-up to the elections, a crackdown. And so what this is largely understood to represent is to shore up political support. The government turns an even blinder eye to politically connected illegal logging networks, allowing them to operate at a higher intensity.
Meanwhile, the communities that live within and depend upon these forests are suffering. They are routinely targeted, criminalized, and prosecuted for trying to protect them. Sometimes fighting against illegal deforestation comes at the cost of their lives. It has been 11 years since Cambodian environmental activist Chut Woody was shot dead. He was killed while investigating illegal logging linked to the development of 2 Chinese-built hydropower dams in the Cardamom Mountains in southwest Cambodia. The perpetrators have still not been brought to justice.
នៅពេលដែលខ្ញុំចូលរួមការងារជាសកម្មជនបរិស្ថានក្នុងពាក់កណ្ដាលឆ្នាំ 2013 មានគេសួរយើងថាធ្វើការអញ្ចឹងខ្លាចអត់ដោយសារលោកឈុតវិធីទើបតែត្រូវបានគេបាញ់សម្លាប់មួយឆ្នាំពីរឆ្នាំទេបាទបើយើងគិតនៅក្នុងឆ្នាំ 2013 ណាបើគេសួរថាភ័យអត់ភ័យបាទក៏ប៉ុន្តែទន្ទឹមនឹងយើងខ្លាចយើងត្រូវសួរខ្លួនឯងត្រឡប់មកវិញថាបើសិនជាយើងខ្លាចបែបហ្នឹងបាទយើងខ្លាចបែបហ្នឹងយើងអាចធ្វើការងាររបស់យើងជោគជ័យយើងអាចចូលរួមកែប្រែសង្គមឲ្យមានភាពល្អប្រសើរជាងមុនបានអត់អញ្ចឹងប្រកាសជាអត់ទេបាទសូមអរគុណបាទ
But prior to his death, Chut Woody played a key role in setting up the Preah Lang Community Network, a volunteer group that patrols the forest to keep a check on deforestation and gather evidence about illegal logging.
For well over a decade now, the forest has had its defenders in the form of the Preah Lang Community Network, and they are made up of various community members from across the 4 different provinces, Chasing Deforestation, Preah over here, and Kampong Tom. And they have typically, with the help of activists and academics, performed patrols where they have attempted to prevent illegal logging, either through scaring them off or through documenting it and using that documentation for advocacy purposes. More recently, they've kind of started gathering data using GPS equipment to try and track the rate of deforestation throughout Preah Lang.
But with community members facing threats and intimidation, patrolling Preah Lang has become too dangerous in recent years. In February 2020, the Cambodian government announced a ban on patrols in Preah Lang, saying they were not registered entities and therefore conducting illegal activities. However, under international human rights law, the Cambodian authorities have legal obligations to protect indigenous people's human rights, including their cultural rights to protect their forests. Nearby, Preah Roka Wildlife Sanctuary was thought to be relatively safer, but when Gerry accompanied activist San Mala for a patrol there, here's what happened.
And I wanted to understand how that affects your ability, or the community's ability, to protect the forest, and whether you have those same problems here in Preah Roka.
នៅព្រៃបេរកាយើងអត់មានសមាជិកសហគមន៍ណាមួយ
Oh, it's okay. It's cool. You're not motorbike.
Okay.
Oh, the ranger, the ranger, the ranger, the ranger. Huh? Take my bag. Yep. I'll get it. I'll get it. They're currently crawling through the undergrowth of the forest. The Ministry of Environment Rangers have found the camp. We've been told that if they find us, they will try to kick us out of the forest. So we've got to hide. We've got to go now. Còn bên đá nhưng nơi tại chặt tục tha ní chỉ ca rùng lốp từ lơ phịch bỏ phạ cùng một hán chìm phép từ lơ nẹt cà phê bảy chờ nơi xa nơi không đọt thầm mà nôn nơi xa nơi không miệt tra mà phơi bùn buôn nơi cho bắp đây pi đồng món cà phê thoáng chết cứ thường ni ông pi sứt bỏ trường đó thế nơi không ca cho rùm chừng này cà phê bị đẹp thôn thiên đồng chết.
Is it more dangerous for activists to try and defend Preah Lang than it is in Preah Roka?
ខ្ញុំគិតថាបច្ចុប្បន្ននេះវាមានគ្រោះថ្នាក់សម្រាប់សកម្មជនទាំងនៅព្រៃឡង់និងព្រៃបរកាដោយសាររឿងនៅតំបន់ព្រៃបរកាកំពុងតែត្រូវបានផ្សព្វផ្សាយជាសាធារណៈម្ដងតិចហើយក៏មនុស្សជាច្រើនចាប់ផ្ដើមស្គាល់ព្រៃបរកាដូច្នេះខ្ញុំគិតថាស្ថានភាពចាប់ផ្ដើមវិវត្តទៅដូចគ្នាព្រោះកន្លងមកនៅពេលដែលមានសិស្សនិស្សិតគាត់ចង់ទៅទស្សនកិច្ចឬក៏សកម្មជនចង់រៀបចំការល្បាតទៅធ្វើការនៅតំបន់ព្រៃបរកាយើងតែងតែមានការរៀបរៀងពីសំណាក់ក្រមមន្ត្រីអូសៀនរៈនិងអាជ្ញាធរមូលដ្ឋានតែអ្វីដែលលើកទឹកចិត្តយើងខ្លាំងជាងគេគឺគ្រួសារមនុស្សជុំវិញខ្លួននិងប្រជាជនខ្មែរដែលគាត់មានក្តីសង្ឃឹមគាត់ពឹងពាក់យុវជននិងយើងទាំងអស់គ្នាដើម្បីការពារធនធានធម្មជាតិ
So what does the future hold for San Mala, the patrolling communities and Preah Lang? Preliminary satellite data from Global Forest Watch suggests that deforestation in Preah Lang in 2023 is on track to exceed 2022 and even 2021, which registered the highest amount of forest loss since the turn of the century.
I think the future for Preah Lang is looking quite bleak at the moment. It's hard to say because it's Cambodia and things can definitely change very quickly. But looking at the data, I mean, 2022 was the 4th worst year on record for deforestation in Preah Lang. So it's looking very much like the perpetrators of the forest crimes that are leading to the slow death of Preah Lang are going to continue unfettered by the law, whereas we are seeing again the atmosphere for environmental activism in Cambodia is there's a very shrinking civil space to do that, but ultimately. As is always the case in Cambodia, the fate of this forest and every other forest in the country more or less hinges on a handful of people and what they decide to do with it. So for that, we just have to wait and see.
In the meantime, Gerry will continue investigating and uncovering information. You can learn more about what's happening in Preah Lang and Cambodia through Gerry's coverage at Mongabay.com. If you want to watch more content, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.